Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I have a couple of encounters with mysterious entities. One, a pale crawler, and another, a goblin-like entity that was encountered by this young boy. Let's read the first article that is titled, Humanoid Encounter on North Hogan Road, Tall Shadow in the Headlights, north of Aurora, Indiana. Let's get into this possible pale crawler account now and hear exactly what this witness saw. Let's read the opening now. What did a 17-year-old driver really see while heading south on North Hogan Road near Aurora, Indiana, and why did an elderly couple immediately label the figure No Man? Brace yourself for a roadside sighting that defies logic, challenges human boundaries, and may point to something far stranger than an ill-dressed pedestrian. A 17-year-old motorist traveling nearly 10 miles north of Aurora, Indiana on a Saturday night claims to have encountered an unusual figure on the road. While driving his black Chevrolet Cavalier southbound along North Hogan Road, he spotted a figure in the headlights of his car. As it crouched near a puddle of water, from the driver's perspective, the figure was visible out the windshield on the right side of the vehicle. After passing this frail-looking figure, the driver checked his rearview mirror and saw, illuminated by the taillights of his car, what he described as a tall, abnormal figure with pointed joints that buckled out. He estimated that the figure stood around 6 feet 7 inches tall. It had protruding joints and moved very strangely, he said. The driver noted that the figure was allegedly dark gray or black and pencil thin, stood up, and took several steps toward the woods along the roadside. The figure was definitely bipedal and was presumed to be male, although no clothing was visible, no face or eyes could be seen. But the witness felt as though the figure was looking directly at him. He quickly realized that the figure was something out of the ordinary, definitely not a human being. The duration of the sighting was brief, estimated to be within the range of 3 to 4 seconds. After passing the figure, the driver continued a short distance down the road before coming to a stop approximately a 2-minute walk from where he had seen the figure. He looked back to get another look at the entity. At that moment, a second car approached from the opposite direction, passing him, and reached the area where the figure was thought to have been located. The 17-year-old motorist closely observed the second car perform what he believed to be an evasive maneuver near the sight of the figure before it turned around and pulled up behind him, somewhat off the road. Now, I can imagine that this elderly couple, folks, because it was mentioned earlier, this was who also saw this entity, who they call No Man. They had quite a few words to say to this 17-year-old motorist, probably asking him if he saw it too, and if that's why he was there. All we know for sure, folks, from the description, this indeed does sound like a pale crawler encounter. The question was, folks, and is, why was this entity there? What would this pale crawler want with basically people obviously noticing as it passed? Was it there to gauge some reaction from these people, perhaps? I don't know. I can only guess at its motives. But let's finish off this article and then talk about it a little more. Inside the second car was an elderly couple, both in their late 60s or early 70s, with gray hair. The driver, who wore glasses, exclaimed, "Boy, did you see something back there? I'll tell you right now that was no person." The elderly female passenger chimed, "It was no human being, it was no man." The couple appeared to be spooked, but offered to follow the first witness for the remainder of their trip down North Hogan Road. Heading away from their intended destination, it seemed that the elderly couple had also seen the figure on the opposite side of the road and possibly had a closer view. Later, the 17-year-old witness reportedly became hysterical and within an hour began describing the figure as an alien, which I can believe so, folks, because that is the common description of a pale crawler. Usually, they're described as looking very alien-looking. In a lot of accounts, they sometimes don't even have faces at all. They just have literally white, blank skin. Or maybe darker black skin in some cases, folks. But if they do have faces, they're usually described as basically looking like gray aliens, but being far bigger than even the tall grays that have been described before, folks. Usually, these entities are described about 10 feet tall. This entity, though, as being around 6 foot 7 inches tall, folks. So a little shorter than the typical pale crawler entity, but not that far off either. Was it actually a pale crawler, or was it some sort of alien entity there on some sort of mission? We don't know. Either way, very frightening story, folks. But let's move on to the next one. The schoolboy, the green figure, and the vanishing putty mystery in Terrace, British Columbia. Let's read this account of this schoolboy encountering this green alien entity, or goblin, as I basically called him, folks. Let's hear this story right now and read the account of this boy, meaning the Green Goblin. let's continue now and read the opening. In 1972, a young boy in Terrace, British Columbia had a midday encounter that defied all earthly logic. An odd, green-skinned being who handed him a strange putty-like substance before vanishing without a trace. Decades later, this chilling yet curious case remains one of Canada's most perplexing close encounters, raising questions about who or what walks among us. That is an interesting opening, isn't it, folks? Let's hear the account now. A second-grade boy from Terrace, British Columbia, encountered a strange little figure while returning to school from his lunch hour. The figure, about his own height, under 4 feet, had greenish-toned skin and was barefoot. Nearby, there was a round thing from which the boy assumed the entity had emerged, although he had not actually seen this happen. So, this round thing sounds like this, green aliens, UFO folks, or maybe, I guess, reconnaissance pod, like basically like you'd see from some, Star Trek series where they use these small ships to go down to the planet or the like. Either way, very strange so far, folks. This entity does sound alien, but it was green and it was little. And beyond that, did it have any other characteristics much like basically gray aliens? Did it have big eyes like them? From the description so far, folks, it just sounds like it was like a green man, a little green man. So, is there any possibility that it might be related to the Hopkinsville Goblins and other such entities? Let's read on, and then we can discuss this, fact in a little more detail. So let's get back to the article now. The figure began to jabber at the boy in an incomprehensible language, then removed an object resembling a gun from a belt around its waist. The entity squirted a kind of putty substance in the palm of its hand, which the boy noticed was adorned with long fingernails, or perhaps claws. The entity handed the substance to the boy, who, confused by the situation, began to move away. When he turned to look again, both the figure and the round thing had vanished. Later, the boy confided in one of his teachers about the encounter. He was questioned about the putty, which he then showed to the teacher. The substance was yellowish in color, flecked with green, about 1/8 of an inch thick, and the size of a golf ball, with a hard texture. The boy placed the object in his pocket, but as he was about to leave, the teacher noticed it on the ground nearby. It seemed to have definitely shrunk in size. The boy picked it back up and put it in his pocket, and that was the last anyone saw of it. What was this substance, folks? What could possibly have been? Why did this alien hand it to this boy? The boy then walked away with it. When you think, even though he was frightened of this entity, he would have thrown this stuff as far as possible, but he kept it with him. Now, it sounds like the substance that the alien gave to the boy was evaporating into the air, much like the phenomena of angel hair. If you don't know what that was or is, folks, angel hair is a phenomena in which this jelly-like, substance falls in strands on certain areas and evaporates into the atmosphere. Was this substance that the boy was given by this alien, being or goblin-like entity, folks, something similar to, angel hair? And we have to ask, folks, because this boy was in contact with this substance and took it to school for them, did he expose not only himself, but his classmates and teachers to this weird substance as well? And what that will probably mean for them in the future? Did it somehow affect them in some odd way, folks? We just don't know. And the fact that this entity just disappeared, like in so many other stories, folks, brings up something else as well. It resembled a goblin, very much like the Hopkinsville Goblins and other encounters like them, folks. It sounds a little different from basically seeing a gray alien, but the boy didn't mention that this entity had the long flappy ears that the Hopkinsville Goblins had. But, folks, whatever it was that he encountered was very strange. And much like the first account that we read through with the Pell Crawler, this entity showed up, and we have to ask, do they have any relationship to each other? Because they disappeared, very strangely as well. You can see that in both accounts. So, do they have any relationship? We can only just wonder about it. Anyway, we're at the end, folks, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the description or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit that part for all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.